if you buy a shirt but return it later, did you make money? The financially sound answer is, of course not. But under the tenets of so-called girl math, a term that's trending across social media, that's exactly right.
Here's a list of things that I firmly believe because of girl math. Anything under $5 is free. Anything I buy with a gift card is free.
If the Starbucks app is loaded, the coffee is free. If my favorite store is having a sale, I have to buy something or I'm actually losing money.
If I pay for something with cash, it's free. If I buy something and then I return the item and get the money back, I've profited.
Girl math is obviously not real math, but it does touch on some major truths about women, sexism, and the economy. Here to help us break it all down are Julie Beckham, Financial Education Director with Rockland Trust Bank, and Belinda Rosenblum, CPA and Money Strategist. Thank you so much both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So what's girl math?
Girl math is a trend on TikTok that has exploded. And basically, it is justifying frivolous expenses in any way that you can think of. We just saw a few examples. But the dangerous part of girl math that I see is that is putting the word girl and math together in this context, which for me, as a financial educator, it reinforces a stereotype that girls aren't good with math or that girls can't make good financial decisions.
What's your take?
So I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I feel like the love part is I love that women are talking about handling money and that they have money, and we're not trying to deny the fact that we have money, right? And like load more shame or just fear or guilt or, all of the emotions we have around money and push those under the rug. So it's great that we're talking about it. And if you stop and think about it, it's a lot of behavioral economics that we're simplifying, a little oversimplifying, but like the idea of justifying purchases, that's your return on investment, right? Looking at expenses that you did last year and not feeling the impact of that, that's a sunk cost, right? So that part isn't terrible. The part that I don't like is partially the girl math and the playing into the stereotype that we're not good at it. And I think there's a part of it that actually never gets to the fact that you're saving money. You're somehow making money and making it more available to spend more.
Well, you're right. If there's a sale and you don't buy something on sale, you're actually losing money.
Right. But then when you can make money, right, when you return something, right, you spend $50, you're really...
That's free money.
It's free money.
There's a lot of free money. My interpretation was similar after watching maybe 50,000 TikToks. Yes. Well, before watching 50,000 TikToks, I thought, like, what is this, just like women be shopping? Like, is that what we're doing?
Right.
But I think it's more like... girl in TikTok world, where, again, I think this is a big joke. I think they're hilarious. I think they're in on it because if there is a stereotype about women not being good with money or not being able to do math, then they're in on that stereotype, right? Because they know that it's a joke. They know that this isn't, you're not actually making money. Nobody's saying that in earnest. But I also think that the term girl means something else because it's not women dinner.
It's like girl boss.
Right, or like girl, but not even like girl boss. It's more like girl, like because it's cute and funny and lighthearted, right? I think that, we can acknowledge that that's a joke and like not ruin it for everybody. But I'm not saying you are, because I think it's an opening to a conversation where we can say, like, why is there that stereotype? Why do we have to approach this? It's approaching this bigger topic with humor, but the bigger topic, right, is that we just don't talk enough about finance, and women are very often excluded from that conversation. And there are so many barriers, which is what you both are kind of working on. Like, where do you see this as a vessel for where you can kind of, invite more women in? Belinda, you were saying, like, we're starting these conversations. Like, let's talk about sunken cost and let's talk about these other things, right?
Right. So I feel like that's the way in, right? As long as everyone is in on the joke, you're fine, right? It's when, I think my concern is always, I have 2 small kids and a stepdaughter's in her 20s. Like, I don't want them to see this and be like, okay, great, then I can just keep spending in this, like, unlimited way, right? And, like, ignore cash. At the source of it, it's kind of really articulating the fact that so many of us try and run our personal budgets and even our businesses as women in what I call bank balance decision making. Like, if there's money in the bank, I can spend it, right? If money is already gone from my bank, it's already gone. I've already written it off in my head, And I think that we have an opportunity here to say, how can we talk about money more in this conversation? And perhaps how can we justify our purchases in more logical ways sometimes. Like, I too have watched many of the TikToks, and it gets a little bit extreme. And I think, though, the more that we can stop and say, like, is there a return on investment for the purchase that I'm making, that's actually a good conversation to be having, right, to be thinking through. And so my hope is that it starts to spur some of the more positive conversations that could happen instead of just spending.
Consumerism, right? Just blatant consumerism.
Yeah.
Right.
And my fear is that, I try to be the cool mom, so I'm watching the TikToks and doing other things. And I recognize that this platform is also the platform where the Tide Pod Challenge stemmed from, which was a dangerous trend, So, but at the same time, more and more, youth are using TikTok as a search engine. So they're searching about financial tips and girl math, and they're using this as real information. And most of them aren't talking to their parents about it. And the fact is that they're not learning about personal finance in school. It's not a requirement in Massachusetts public schools. So unless this spurs conversations at home, what I feel it's doing is it's marginalizing the word girl. So I can understand, the way that girl is used in this, but on a very basic level, it eats at a young girl's self-esteem in the sense that, I'm just not supposed to be good at this. I'm just supposed to be buying the Starbucks. I'm just supposed to be doing this and thinking this is real money and feeling like cash doesn't matter. And the conversation is still around, you don't have to worry about that. Someone will take care of you. And that's what's dangerous. When we're not teaching personal finance from a young age in our public school system, and girls are separated from boys from a mentality of frivolous spending, then what are we teaching girls when in the reality, the real girl math is that girls grow to be women. Women have jobs. Women make less than men. Women live longer than men. Women need to take off more time from work to care for their loved ones and elderly parents than men. So we're in a financially dangerous situation. So again, not to be suck the fun out of TikTok, that's where I go. That's where I go as a financial educator.
I think those are valid concerns. I do think that the joke, though, is that I reported a bit on venture capital, and I don't think much has changed, but at the time I think it was 96% male. And it's just, there are these barriers, right? Because so much of it relies on relationships, and it's based so much intrinsically just based in sexism, that I think the joke here is like, oh, haha, girl math, but the girls in the equation, they're not the ones who've excluded themselves from the narrative. Like you talked about on your podcast, you talked about Fin Talk, which is like financial TikToks and explaining, and there are really great resources. What are some ways that young women can find that are more approachable, like to learn more about personal finance and get in at an early age?
So, there are so many like Fin Talks, and there are definitely some young women out there who are, giving some really valid information. Tori Dunlap is one of them. Vivian, your best friend in Wall Street Girlie, I think that's her hashtag. She talks a lot about girls and finance, but I think that, honestly, it's having the conversations about money and asking them in your homes and within your friends and talking about it. I mean, socially, girls, boys, if they're involved in sports teams or extracurriculars, they go out afterwards. How are they paying for that? Are they getting an allowance? Do they have to, work for their money? Do they have to say no sometimes, or I'll just get the fries and not the meal because I don't have the money? And those are the conversations that are important to have. And as far as learning about it, I just do believe that this is something that has to happen in the schools. In the meantime, at Rockland Trust, we have a learning center, and we provide curriculum that teachers, parents, families can use to talk about money, to start learning about saving, sharing, and spending on a basic level. And then, like you said, listen to these little mini Money Minute podcasts on the No Shame in This Money Game podcast to, again, just really get some conversations started in families, within friend groups, talk about it. Because, again, there's no shame in it. And everyone's coming from a different place, and that's what's really hard.
Yeah, there is no shame in girl math. Also, I'm just going to put it out there. But you got into this, it's shameless. You got into this business for that reason, though, to help people get through some of those barriers. Why is it like this? I mean, maybe that's a dumb question when you live in this post-capitalist world, but, like, why is it that only certain people are allowed to have this knowledge and information to build that financial foundation?
I don't think that it has to be that these people have it. The question is, who are these people?
I guess I just mean if you were raised with wealth or an understanding of wealth.
Okay.
Although many people who have wealth don't have conversations about money.
Yeah.
So I guess just in general,
it's an under talked about conversation, right? So I started this business 16 years ago, back in 2007. Everyone thought it was crazy. They literally had a bit of an intervention for me because I was like going to be a personal finance coach, and they're like the spending rate was above the savings rate at the time, and it was a negative savings rate. It was right before the recession in 2008, though. And I was very well poised to help people with this conversation, but nobody was having it. And I think that it's about us each taking a personal responsibility to say, hey, maybe I wasn't taught in schools because it wasn't part of the curriculum. I will say, even as an accounting major locally here at Boston College, they don't really talk about personal finance in the way that we need, right? And that it's up to us to say, okay, ignorance isn't bliss. It's actually very costly. Like, it's very expensive. And so it's like, okay, what do I need to know to be able to do this better? My company is called Own Your Money, right? So it's about, like, how do you own it so that you can take the responsibility and then actually reap the rewards from it, right? Because you get that, like, avoiding. And I had this period of time when my dad had a stroke, and I had gotten, like, under bills in mail. And I had this moment of, like, no one's going to come and save me. Right? But that financial independence didn't mean I had to do everything myself. I could learn. I could have a friend help me. Right? I could find another way to get through this. And that's what I believe is possible when we each take responsibility for being like, okay, I never taught it. I can either keep blaming my parents or blame society, or I can advocate for myself. And that's really what I want to see people do. Like, I figured it out back then, became a self-made millionaire by let's see, 32, like, it's possible if we start to take steps. And even in the workforce, like, I used to be a corporate controller, the women wouldn't advocate for themselves nearly as much as the men would. Like, it just, I feel like, furthers the pay gap that we're already struggling with, right? In that they would ask for more raises, bonuses, all of that along the way, and even more of a starting salary than women would. I feel like it's up to us to really step up and say, we as women are a force to be reckoned with. Like, we can have some fun with the girl math, but we really know we are here to, I don't want to say do some damage, but we're really here to make an impact on the economy. And that kind of gets to the whole she-economy that's happening. Like, the women are showing the world, like, we are here to stay, we are making an impact, and I think we need to pay attention to that.
And I think that that's what, if I were a trendsetter, Tori, and if I got to rebrand Girl Math, it would be about owning your own money. It would be about reframing how to think about your financial life as a small business, and, really having intentional priorities on how you spend, why you spend, and align it with what you love. And that, a lot of the things that the girls talk about in Girl Math are buying the things they love. Well, be intentional about that and be proud of it. And that is a way to pursue your passion, your life, your spending, and be really intentional about it.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you both for your work.
And then wear it every day for a year and make it free.
Yeah. Because that makes it free. It's the wearability. What is it? Cost per wear?
Yes.
Thank you both so much for being here. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thanks.